All right, today we're going to put on our architect hats, but we're not designing buildings. We're designing digital fortresses. We're going to lay out the actual blueprint for creating a secure network when your business is spread out all over the place, across multiple clouds. So let's get building.
Okay, here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off by understanding this whole multi-cloud world. Then we're going to dive into 4 absolutely essential principles for a rock-solid defense. And finally, we'll sketch out what a truly secure network looks like when you put it all together. So, first things first. Welcome to the multi-cloud. And I really want you to think about it this way. Your company's digital footprint isn't just one office building anymore. Nope, it's a massive, sprawling kingdom with territories in a whole bunch of different lands. So let me ask you a question, and really think about it for a second. Where does your business actually live? Is it all tucked away in one neat, tidy place? Yeah, for pretty much every modern company out there, the answer is it's complicated. It's everywhere. Your operations are probably running on AWS, you've got stuff in Azure, and you're probably using Google Cloud too. This isn't some chaotic mess, it's just the new reality. It's called multi-cloud. But here's the kicker. A bigger kingdom means way more borders you have to defend. More moving parts mean more hidden vulnerabilities. And that brings us right to the heart of the problem we're trying to solve. Complexity is the absolute enemy of security. Okay, so how do we fight that complexity? Well, that brings us to our first major security rule, what I like to call the velvet rope policy. This is all about being the ultimate bouncer for your digital world. Now, the fancy term for this is the principle of least privilege. But honestly, the idea is super simple. You only give a person or a program the absolute bare minimum permissions they need to do their job, and not 1 ounce more.
You know the old way of doing things? It was kind of crazy. It was like handing out a master key to the entire castle to every single person who walked in the door. The smart way, the least privileged way, is to give someone a key that only opens the one room they need to be in. It's a total game changer in how you think about access.
Okay, so we've got the keys under control. But what happens if someone does manage to get into one room? We can't let them just run wild. We need to build some walls. And that brings us to our second principle, creating digital bulkheads using the power of segmentation. Network segmentation is just the practice of chopping up your big, wide-open network into a bunch of smaller, totally isolated zones. Think about the watertight compartments on a submarine, right? If one area gets breached, the water doesn't flood the whole boat. It's the exact same idea, but for your data. And this is precisely why it's so critical. If an attacker gets into one part of your network, they're trapped, they're stuck. They can't just move sideways into your digital vault or wherever you keep the good stuff. You contain the damage immediately and keep your most important assets safe. All right, access is tight. We've built our internal walls. But what about the messages being passed back and forth between those rooms? Are messengers just shouting secrets in the hallways? No way. This is where our third principle comes in, the unbreakable code, or in other words, mandatory encryption. All encryption in transit means is that you scramble your data into a secret code before it travels anywhere. It's completely unreadable to anyone who might be listening in, and only the person it's intended for has the special key to unlock it when it arrives. I mean, seriously? Sending data without encryption is like writing your deepest secret on a postcard and just dropping it in the mail. Anybody who gets their hands on it can read it. Encryption, on the other hand, is like putting that message inside a locked steel box that only your friend knows how to open. It's just a no-brainer. Okay, on to our fourth and final principle. We've got controlled access, we've got internal walls, and our messages are secure. But how do we actually watch over this entire sprawling kingdom all at once? We need a command center. We need a single spot for centralized visibility. When your kingdom is spread across multiple clouds, you can't just have different guards watching their own little corners and hoping for the best. Centralized visibility means having one control panel, what we often call a single pane of glass, where you can see everything that's happening across AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, all of it, all at the same time. It all boils down to one fundamental truth. You cannot protect what you cannot see. It's just impossible. You have to have that central watchtower with a clear line of sight to every single part of your kingdom. If you don't, you're basically defending with a blindfold on. Okay, we've got our 4 big ideas. Now for the fun part.
Let's put this all together and take a look at the anatomy of a real network. We're going to see how these principles transform it from something vulnerable into a real fortress. First, let's look at the before picture. This is the blueprint of a pretty typical network, one that was built without these architectural principles in mind. And it's not looking good. And here are the weak spots. See how they map directly back to the principles we just covered? All access keys are just lying around. An intruder could basically wander through the whole castle. Messengers are shouting sensitive info. And there's no main watchtower. This kingdom is just a disaster waiting to happen. So, how do we fix this mess? It's not magic. We just apply the 4 edicts of the architect. We roll out that velvet rope policy. We build the digital bulkheads. We enforce the unbreakable code. And we establish that command center. It's a clear, actionable plan.
And boom. Here is the after blueprint, a truly fortified network. Every single vulnerability we just pointed out has been fixed. Now, every door has the right lock. A breach in one courtyard stays in that courtyard. All messages are completely secret, and that single watchtower sees every move. This is a fortress you can rely on.
And that really brings us to the most important takeaway of all. Security isn't just some wall you build at the very end as an afterthought. It's the vision. It's the architectural blueprint you design into the very fabric of your network from day one.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. Your digital kingdom is expanding every single day. The only question is, do you have the right blueprint to secure it?